Match of the Swiss here between John Lim and Logan Mize. Only one of these players is going to make the top 8. Whoever wins will be in our elimination rounds later this evening. We'll see if it's Band Heroic or Obs on Control. As Lim has won the die roll, he will begin things in round number 15.
Always happy to see Obs on Control doing well here.
You are.
I am. Yeah, I know it's not blue, but it's close. There's no pure control deck going on here. Even the control decks play value 4 drops.
They do.
It's a tragic place.
For you, at least. I'm okay with it. We got a Fleece main line? Perhaps we do. Logan Mize just with a Temple of Enlightenment to start things off. He'll take a draw, pick up a copy of a Johnny's Presence. For Logan, you see a Sandstorm Citadel to start, you see a Fleece main line. As far as matchup is concerned, I imagine you are happy. And I don't know if his draws come together all that well. We'll find out as the game progresses. But as far as matchup is concerned, you have to be pleased with things. You're not playing against, for, let's say, a crackling Doom deck as we saw earlier in the day.
Exactly.
Because that was real bad news. That was one of his losses. He got crushed by Mardu Dragons. Mize going to sacrifice his Footage Strand. I have to imagine there'll be a Plains, though. Island is an option. He does play one island. And he'll get the Plains.
He wants to get a threat out here so that he can protect it. Remember, like I said, the first step to Bant Heroic is getting to untap with a creature.
Looks like he's going to play Hero Heroes and pass the turn back. Hope it's going to live. We're going to go back to Lim's way.
Yeah, of all the creatures, John's pretty happy that that's the one that Logan is committed to. It's one of the least scary creatures for Logan to suit up.
There is a Hero's Downfall, and here comes Fleece main line. Notable thing there is, on that particular turn, it actually had to be Hero's Downfall. Obs on Charm's not going to get the job done. So, Tiling Removal spell. Mana works out well thanks to Urborg, and we're going to head back Mize's way.
Yeah, and remember, he's Obs on Control, but John has put 1 copy of Wingmate Rock in his main deck, which could serve him very well here, actually, as it can really, one of the ways to beat the Heroic deck is just put a quick clock on them, and if he can raid that Wingmate Rock, and it's looking like he might, that'll be very strong for him.
Seeker of the Way.
Yeah, he can confidently make this play because if Logan goes for a block and a trick to pump it, then John's Obs on Charm becomes live.
This is true. And
actually, the speed with which John attacked would be concerning for me if I was Logan. Just like the body language behind it I don't know, maybe you read into it too much, but it's only 3 damage. Logan really wants to untap with a creature.
Well, body language is something that you can pick up on when you're playing against an opponent, and he quickly untapped, drew his card and attacked, and that's something that you're picking up on here from the booth. It's something that I think players at home are picking up on as well. Logan decided, I have a Johnny's Presence in my hand. I could cast Johnny's Presence, turn my creature into a 4/4 and eat your Fleece main line, but that doesn't feel particularly safe given how you played your turn.
So on top of Obs on Charm, we had a chance to look at John's hand there. John also has a copy of Foul Tongue Invocation.
Sure.
So he has Logan covered on a couple fronts here. Not even God's Willing in response to it, that guy is not safe.
Yep. Here comes Seeker of the Way. Looks like it's just going to attack for 2.
Yeah, and as long as it doesn't have lifelink, I doubt John's going to care.
Yep. Now, Foul Tongue Invocation is just a one-of here in John's deck. You do wonder if Logan is going to try to play around that card. It is not something you find at all Obs on Control decks.
Yeah, well, that said, right now, if you're Logan, you're not certain if you're playing against Obs on Control or aggro. Aggro certainly wouldn't be anywhere near this card. Now John showed his hand. Now Logan now expects cards like Crux of Fate, expects Elspeths. This is Obs on Control.
Yes.
He might have been able to spec that earlier also because there weren't things like mana confluences or fetch lands as much, but it's hard to tell.
If it wasn't clear before, it's clear now. He has that Obs on Control deck with Fleece main line in the main deck. There's a Seeker. Pass that turn.
Becoming harder and harder to put people on cards. Obs on Control is moving into a more mid-range role. Obs on Aggro is moving closer to mid-range. Then Obs on Megamorph exists. These decks, the lines are getting blurrier and blurrier.
Yeah. And that actually plays an Obs on's advantage because then you don't know exactly what they have in their deck. Because here comes Fleece main line. Land number 5 was played before combat. So if you're Logan, blocking here is probably not the best idea because then John can just go ferocious.
Yeah, big attack here. And Logan's in a tough spot. If he blocks, John goes for a monstrosity with it. And if he doesn't, John raids a Wingmate Rock. There's not a good answer for Logan right now.
No, there really isn't.
And we're talking about if John can steal game 1. He hasn't stolen it yet, but he's off to a great start.
Well, this first game is one-sided.
Right.
I know he hasn't technically won the game yet, but this is a one-sided game. I mean, John has had no trouble at all. Logan hasn't really gotten aggressive or done much of anything.
Yeah, now remember, this is atypical in that John's drawing a lot of his one-ofs, a one of Wingmate Rock, a one of Hero's Downfall. They are coming at the right spot for him, though.
Mize does have a play to make. Does have a copy of Ordeal of Heliod in his hand, but his hand is not coming together very well at all this game, and he's continuously under the gun here. He's going to start with an Ordeal, and now he's going to attack. That'll get a counter. Prowess has been triggered as well, so it's a 4-4. Does have lifelink.
Yeah, I like this line in that Logan's identifying the game as a race, and he's played his best racing card here in Ordeal of Heliod.
Yep.
Round 6 are going up.
Now he's going to pass the turn back, it seems, with God's Willing and a Johnny's Presence mana available. Doesn't mean that he has those cards in his hand, but they are being represented at this time. Now he's going to play Favorite Hoplite and tap out. Hope that his Seeker doesn't die. Lim will draw. Ordeal of Heliod is the plan here for Mize. He has another one in his hand. He has the ability to gain close to 20 life, maybe even more than that. Here come the attackers. You're going to get a Wingmate Rock trigger.
So he'll gain 3.
Looking to deal 9.
I like how Logan commits the second creature there. It just challenges John to have the kill spell. It's a risky play, but Logan needs something like that to break his way if he wants to be able to win this game.
Favorite Hoplite's going to chump block the Fleece main line. 6 damage is going to be dealt. John going to play a Temple. Top card going to go to the bottom. I believe John only has 2 cards left in his hand. He's just going to pass the turn back. Logan's creature did not die. You have to imagine if you're Logan, okay, if you didn't kill my creature when I was tapped out, that means you don't have a removal spell. Let's do this thing.
Yeah, Logan's got to trigger Prowess again this turn. Remember, Ordeal's not going to crack just yet unless Logan has another one.
And I believe he does have another copy of Ordeal of Heliod in his hand, which would gain him over 20 life. But we'll
20
see.
off the Ordeals, more off the Seeker, if that works.
Please check pairings.starcitygames.com.
We'll see, though. We'll see. We want to see how it's going to break down.
Yeah, and Logan's got to be pretty sure there's no kill spell in John's hand. Logan was tapped out. If John had a kill spell, he would have killed Seeker and moved on to game 2.
No second Ordeal, just an attack and a counter. Is there a way for Logan to... Well, there is a way for Logan to trigger Prowess. The question is, does he want to trigger Prowess? Looks like he does with the Johnny's Presence.
Yeah, it may just be additional Ajani's Presences in Logan's hand. Yeah, it's another copy of Ajani's Presence that he has.
He's going to get to gain some life here, which is important because he is trying to race. Life totals are fluctuating quite a bit. Now there's another copy of Johnny's Presence.
So each of those is giving +2/+2.
Yep.
So the Seeker's up to an 8/8. So that'll put John to 11 and Logan to 16. And next turn, Logan has a big life swing coming.
There is your Fleece Mane Lion monstrosity trigger. You saw Windswept Teeth get tapped for mana because there's no Borg in play as Lim will draw a card.
And I love just how this Bant Heroic deck can race from some of the most ridiculous situations.
It's almost its specialty, really. There's an attack for 10. Mize is back down to 6. Now, Lim does have a copy of Crux of Fate in hand. I think he's going to cast it. Part of the reason he's going to do that is because his Fleece Mane Lion gets to hang out.
Wow, an aggressive Crux of Fate here, and it shows John really respecting that 10-point life swing off Ordeal of Heliod. Willing to kill both his Wingmate Rocks just to get that to happen.
And Logan's like, well, that's actually pretty good. Had I saved my Giant's Presence, I might actually be in the driver's seat. And that's not the case anymore. There's a Temple of Enlightenment. Take a look at that top card. It's going to go to the bottom. We're going to have a Battle-Wise Hoplite and a passing of the turn over to Lim.
Yeah, you wonder if Logan needed to use that second to Johnny's Presence.
Lim will attack. Abzan Charm. That will do it.
Yeah, pumps it up to 6. Logan at 6. Nicely played by John Lim. Steals the first game and it is now up going into the sideboard.
Stealing the first game, super important, as we did mention right at the top. And the one-ofs in the deck, the one Foul Tongue Invocation, one Crux of Fate, the one Wingmate Rock. He drew them all. They all played a huge role. That's why they're in the deck.
He needed all 3 of them.
So Logan Mize is where we're going to start with the sideboard. You've got that in front of you. He'll be on the play here for game number 2.
All right, well, he's got to know he's against Obzon Control right now, which means it's almost certain that John Lim's sideboard plan is to go for a lot of kill spells. That said, I'm not surprised to see Logan go for cards like Stubborn Denial in this matchup. At the same time, because it's Obzon Control, Disdainful Stroke isn't even unreasonable. I imagine he can go for some combination of Stubborn Denial, Disdainful Stroke, Treasure Cruise, just to be more robust against kill spells.
We take a look at John's sideboard. His additional copy of Crux of Fate. He's got 2 ultimate prices, 3 Drown and Sorrows, 2 Duress, 2 copies of Self-Inflicted Wound, additional copy of Jamoka's Command, a Johnny Mentor of Heroes, Soren Solemn Visitor, Nissa World Waker, and an Ugin the Spirit Dragon.
All right, kill spells are great. Crux of Fate, ultimate price, Self-Inflicted Wound, probably even Jamoka's Command, all of use here. And I would like to see him bring in the Soren Solemn Visitor. We saw last round for Logan Mize just how good Soren was against the heroic deck. It really can turn around these games when they devolve into races. And so John could use all of those in the matchup. He has some cards that he really doesn't mind boarding out. So cards like Elspeth Sun's Champion don't do a lot of work here.
Well, we're going to see how things go. I mean, Logan, it's got a bit of an uphill climb here now. Game 1 is typically favorable for Banteroic, but he did not put much of a fight that game. Lim was able to take control. His one-ups were very, very powerful. So Miles will be on the play here for game number 2. We'll quickly talk about something that Logan was able to use to his advantage to qualify for the Players' Championship last year, and that's the IQ circuit. Right now, we've got Joe Lissette, Danny Jessup, and a bevy of other players playing in IQs here in Dallas. I also know there are players in Connecticut right now, Gerard Fabiano, Kevin Jones, and Ross Merriam playing a Super IQ. You can find out more about invitational qualifiers at StarCityGames.com, but keep in mind, there are exclusive prices there in playmats, dice bags, creature collection pins, top 8 pins, and of course SCG premium vouchers as well to read the best Magic the Gathering content on the net. StarCityGames.com for more information, and get in touch with your store owner and Star City Games organized play if you'd like to get these set up. It's not hard, we try to make it easy, and it was very important for Logan to do well in those to qualify for the Players' Championship last year.
They're held all around the country. Not to mention, if you make it out to one of our Star City Open weekends, on Sunday we always have a premier invitational qualifier in both of the 2 formats that the main event was not. So for example, this weekend was standard, which means today we have both a modern IQ and a legacy IQ. So regardless of your construction format of choice, we will have that for you at any Star City Games weekend.
Yep, Joe Lissette is playing in a legacy one right now, of course, with Miracles. Danny Jessup is playing in a modern one right now with Infect. Todd Anderson's hanging out, playing a little Magic this weekend too, as he was not able to make day 2 playing Obzon Aggro. So definitely check out the IQ circuit. It's a great way to play some competitive Magic, get some awesome prizes, and qualify for one of our invitationals. Our next one, of course, Season 2, coming 3 weeks from now in Columbus.
Yeah. And so looking at how our tie bait's shaping up, one of the big headlines out of the Grand Prix in Shanghai was the performance of green-red. Just these green-red dragons or green-red devotion style decks really put a bunch of numbers into the top 8. Looking at the players who are already in, we have 4 players: Nathan Fabalenia, Jonathan Berg, Gabriel Hoglar, Sam Birkenbile. Well, Obzon Aggro and Esper Dragons, we expect those. Green-White Company, we saw that qualify the 4th deck, and the current guy in first, that's Nathan Fabalenia, also with Green-Red Dragons.
Well, I know Chris Van Meter has basically felt that if Esper Dragons isn't that popular, Green-Red Dragons is still a pretty good choice, and looking at the information that we have, Esper Dragons is not that popular here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it was maybe popular or not. It certainly wasn't very successful here.
That is true. Only 1 copy right around the top of the standings. That is Birkenbile, who was able to draw into top 8. So if you're the Green-Red Dragons player, you're really hoping not to run into him.
1 copy in the top 16. It may just be 1 copy in the top 32. It has not been around.
Yeah, Ochitai is trending downwards, apparently. Given how powerful that card is, it's a little surprising.
That can't last. That guy's too good. That card's really good.
It is obscenely powerful. That much is for sure. But neither one of these players, have access to that card in their deck. Mize on Ban Heroic, John Lim on Obzon Control, and they're doing just fine without the powerful Dragon Lord. See if Mize can get the W here and tie things up. Though Lim was very impressive in game number 1, and he is bringing some very good cards to the table here for game number 2 and 3 in Self-Inflicted Wound, Ultimate Price, and Crux of Fate.
Interesting enough, hanging out for another spot in top 8. I believe we have a Mardu Dragon's Mirror happening, so I think we have 1 copy of that into top 8 as well.
I'm actually glad to hear that's the case if we have one of those in the top 8. That's a deck that's been kind of waiting to break through. It was such a natural place for players to go when Ochitai started running rampant was, okay, what's the best Crackling Doom deck? How do we build it? Took a little while to figure it out, but I think it is the Mardu Dragons deck.
Well, I like seeing when you get, especially see a card just kind of come out of the woodwork too, like Kolagon the Storm's Fury. That guy That guy's been around for a while, and this is the first time he's made an appearance on the tournament scene.
Yeah, and that card is really powerful. It was, I suppose, a little surprising not to see that card see more play, but, you know, metagames dictate what you can and cannot do, and it seems like a pretty good time to be playing that card.
Well, at the 5-mana haste slot, he's got a lot of competition. You have Stormbreath Dragon, you have Logan, you have Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker. All of these are red 5-drops with haste, so I think it really depends on what the contour of the rest of your deck is. I mean, you certainly can't play like 12 of these things. You're not going to be. You probably can't even play 8. So, in the past, I feel like part of the reason we didn't see him play is that he wasn't better than Sarkhan in these decks. Whereas now I do think he is, because he has creature type dragon.
It's kind of a shame, actually, that you don't see Sarkhan in decks.
In a dragon deck?
Just Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker as a Magic card is a really, really good Magic card. And you don't see it in anything, really.
Yeah, Sarkhan is a personality. He's a huge fan of dragons. He would love to be included in these decks.
Yeah, and you just don't see that card in decks. I don't want to say it's strange, because we've seen really good cards just not really find a home right away. But Sarkhan the Dragon Speaker, 5-mana Planeswalker with relevant abilities, a relevant ultimate, just no home in Standard right now. They're certainly not among the top decks.
Well, it makes sense. So when only Khans of Tarkir was out, we were in like the old present storyline where Sarkhan's the Dragon Speaker. But then when we went back, changed the past and Fate Reforged, now we're in Dragons of Tarkir. See, the dragons are ruling instead.
Yep.
So of course now we're playing the dragons. You know, we've adapted to the new future.
That's how the story is supposed to go.
Right.
A Temple of Enlightenment to begin things here for Mize. He left his top card on top. Lim with a Sansept Citadel. As turn 2 will begin here for Mize.
It's great when the tournament scene follows the storyline.
It's actually kind of cool. Mize is going to play a Seeker of the Way. We'll see if he searches up a Forest or a Plains here. This might be one of the matches where we actually see Logan use Treasure Cruise, something we have not seen him do yet this week in his Here's a Thoughtseize.
Yeah, well, we've been seeing him play against these green decks, and I'm going to put a pause on that because I know that John's playing a green deck, but he's been playing against these creature-based green decks, and those aren't the Treasure Cruise matchups. Treasure Cruise is for the black-based removal decks, which Absent Control is interesting because it's a little bit of both, but I think at the end of the day, you play against it like it's a black deck, not like it's a green deck.
Ordeal of Thassa, God's Willing, Defiant Strike, Dromoka's Command, Windswept Teeth. Those are the weapons of choice here for Mize that Lim gets to select from.
A good diversity of cards here for Logan. Now, the weakness of the hand is that it has only one creature. So if John has a sacrifice effect, he can get that creature past a card like God's Willing, past a card like Defiant Strike, and that should be good enough once he gets off the board that Logan can't replace the creature, and then suddenly the rest of his cards don't do as much.
I would be scared to see someone select Dromoka's Command from that hand.
Normally you think he'd select Ordeal of Thassa.
Or God's Willing.
Or God's Willing.
One of the two.
Right, if he has, it makes it sound like he has Foul Tongue Invocation or Self-Inflicted Wounds.
Yep.
That's the reason he would take that.
Feel free to put an Ordeal of Thassa on your creature and leave up mana for God's Willing.
Right, I mean, that's what he expects Logan to do, but for some reason, John's not worried about that line.
Yeah, that would worry me if I'm in Logan's seat.
But the problem is, without another creature in his hand, Logan doesn't have a good way to play around that. What he can do is he can just cycle off some Defiant Strikes at his Seeker, try to not commit.
He's going to cycle one.
Maybe get a second creature down, then go for this play.
Picked up a copy of Temple of Enlightenment off that cycle.
Yeah, actually a pretty savvy choice here from Logan.
Yeah, I think he is kind of forced into this.
Well, it's a good read that he looked at what John had selected from the Thoughtseize and then changed his game plan by assuming that John has the answer.
Here's a healthy attack for 4. Pass that turn back.
Okay. Continues to leap up God's Willing. Also has a Defiant Strike.
Yep. There's Nurborg off the top. This is a Thoughtseize. Excuse me, that's a Duress. Discard spell all the same.
Yeah, and he does have the Self-Inflicted Wound. Looks like John has left in a copy of Elspeth. Has one of those in his hand as well.
I think that's a good idea. If you're able to get to that point,
it'll win.
Yeah, it's basically impossible for the Rogue deck to beat, or certainly very hard.
Aqueous Form and God's Willing are their ways to get through, but the problem is that if their creature's worth swinging with, Elspeth probably can kill it.
Yep.
And a ton of damage. These Thoughtseize and Duress effects just do a ton of damage against Bant, Heroic, because once you start trading cards, then the game becomes about who has the best creature, the best cards left over. And I mean, if you want to say pound for pound, John's cards are miles better than Logan's.
Oh, in a vacuum, for sure. There's a Self-Inflicted Wound. Logan might actually have to just cycle his Defiant Strike because his hand has no action.
Yeah, can't say Logan didn't expect this coming. That said, he's minimized the damage the Self-Inflicted Wound does, but when you have the Self-Inflicted Wound and the Duress, it's pretty bad.
And then draw a card. Picked up a copy of Battlewise Hoplite. That's important. Bye-bye Seeker of the way.
Now, if John suspected a Defiant Strike, another Defiant Strike there, he could have sequenced the self-inflicted wound first. So then
Yeah.
it's minor.
It is minor. It is an option. There's Windswept Teeth. Logan going to search up a land here. He'll get himself a forest, so all the colors here.
John, just all the removal. You see his graveyard, a Thought Seize, a Duress, a self-inflicted wound. Has a Hero's Downfall in hand.
That was super important to have 2 creatures that turn.
I mean, he had 0 last time we checked.
That was super, super important. Now, the card that is in Logan's hand, the last one is an Ordeal of Thought, so John knows that, given the discard effects.
John just has another Thought Seize.
Oh, well, feel free.
Gross.
At this point, I think Logan's game plan is a little bit more honest, which is just kind of chip away.
Get into honest magic, then Elspeth starts becoming real important.
And Island the draw. I'm curious if Logan is willing to cast this Ordeal of Thassa when the opponent has untapped mana like this. I mean, it reeks of a Hero's Downfall.
Well, what you might see John do is take 4 here, end step, use Hero's Downfall, then untap and Thought Seize away the Ordeal.
Here's your removal spell. This is a good play by Logan.
Logan pausing here. He has nothing. His hand is Island Ordeal.
I might as well pretend he has something.
Yep.
I like casting Ordeal now.
I mean, yeah, knowing that John has Thought Seize, I think it is right.
Well, I like casting in post-combat just because it gives you the ability to scry and kind of influence your draw step, and I think that's really important for Logan right now.
Courser and land from John, and it shows top of the deck is Hero's Downfall. Big Thought Seize from John, gets the Ordeal. You're right. I mean, if we know because John had Thought Seize, if that Ordeal was on the Hoplite right now, it would certainly be stronger.
Yeah, I kind of wanted to scry there. I just wanted to get the best chance at a good draw step. It's weird to play an Ordeal post-combat, but getting the opportunity to scry, I think, is a big game there. I like this attack. 2-2 into a 2-4. Where do I sign up?
Even if Logan has nothing, he's far enough behind that he has to make that attack.
I love that.
And yeah, he didn't have anything.
Yeah, I can't get enough of that attack.
Oh, and do you like that he just plays both cards after
yeah.
combos and be like, oh, I got you.
Oh, yeah.
I had nothing. That's it. I don't know how much John cares. I mean, he's at 9. He's got Elspeth in hand, 1 land off it. He's got a blocker. He's got a Fleece Mane coming.
Let's see what Mize draws here. Aqua's 4, maybe?
That would be a start.
Stratus Walk wouldn't be too bad. It's going to come at him again. He didn't block last time.
Fool me once. Shame on you. Fool me twice. Shame on me. We'll see if John may make the call in the second time.
He has Jamoka's command in hand.
Big game. If John is going to play that Fleece Mane Lion next turn, the Dramoka's command gets better.
Yeah.
Then again, if the card under Fleece Mane Lion is an untapped land, and Logan lets him draw that Fleece Mane Lion and get an untapped land to play, well, then it certainly didn't work.
It's horrible news then.
Because then he's not playing Fleece Mane Lion. But, I mean, Logan doesn't know that. He doesn't know John's last card is Elspeth.
All right, he's going to cast a Jamoka's command. +1/+1 and fight.
Sure. Prowess is to a 4/4.
Yep. Push you to 5, gain some life. I think Logan might be forced to make that play. You get to draw Fleece Mane Lion. Of course, that's going to enter the battlefield past that turn back. Logan's got big draws available here. That's a big draw.
That is a huge draw. That's going to force a chump block from John.
Yep. It's a lethal attack. There's Ordeal.
Yep. Prowess is up to a 4/4. Attacks will attack up to a 5/5.
Yep. It's a lethal attack. Yeah, and he actually is going to get a counter. That's going to be a chump block. Gain some life, of course. Pass the turn back. Logan has to cross his fingers. Hope that...
Untapped land.
Yeah, hope there's no untapped land or no removal spell. How'd we do?
Untapped land.
Yep.
There, that is going to kill Logan.
That is tough. Going to tick down, kill his creature.
So now it is empty board, empty hand versus empty board, empty hand, except one guy has an Elspeth.
Yep. What's Logan going to draw now?
Well, all right. Maybe he still has some game left.
There's a little pep in his step. He's just going to pass
No,
the
it's
turn
not.
back.
It
now,
wasn't
though.
a creature.
Nope. Lim will draw.
Honor Premier
He'll take up Elspeth. 3 soldier tokens coming. Now, if you're looking for positives here on Logan Mize's side of things, well, he's at 33. So there are a lot of turns to be had. And if he's able to just draw a creature into aqueous form, he can actually win.
Yeah, you're absolutely right, because Elspeth had to -3. It's not like she's going ultimate anytime soon either. That said, 33 is not as many. It's not that many turns.
It's not as much as you would think.
Yeah. The turn where John swings with 12 creatures should be the lethal one. Well, it messes up by a blocker, but it gets lethal quicker. It gets lethal quick.
John's going to leave his card on top. Here's an attack. I think you block one of these.
Oh, and there's the Abzan
Yeah,
Charm
actually,
in John's hand.
It is kind of tough to... Well, Abzan Charm is just going to be good no matter what.
By blocking a creature every turn, I do believe Logan buys himself a turn.
Yeah. But Abzan Charm is just going to be a disaster no matter what happens. Because if he draws something like aqueous form, Hero of Heroes gets a counter, and then you get to Abzan Charm it. So
Yes, if he ever makes Hero bigger.
Yep.
Remember, Logan, if he's bored them in, could always draw a Treasure Cruise. That's probably what he's looking for if they're in the deck.
There's Temple. Take a look at the top card. That card's going to stay on top.
I mean, the worry is Logan still has nothing going on, and John just scried a card to the top of his deck. I don't know what it is, but I mean, it can't be good news for Logan.
Yeah, Logan's scrying his card to the bottom with Temple of Enlightenment. All he can do is pass the turn back. Looks like he's going to play Stratus Walk.
Yeah, do not draw that card. Nope. No.
This is good. This is smart by John.
Yeah, don't draw God's Willing.
Yep.
Absolutely not. You can have the counter.
Yep, you get the heroic, you don't get the card draw. Yep. John knows exactly how the stack works.
Yeah.
He gets the Abzan Charm here.
Yeah, get rid of that. No card.
So there's like this weird grace period where you target Hero of Heroes switch Stratus Walk, which means the heroic resolves, which is the +1/+1 counter. Stratus Walk is not resolved yet, so now you get to Abzan Charm the creature, make sure he doesn't draw a card, and keep moseying on along. Attack with 9 soldiers, put Mize down to 15. I think we got an Abzan control deck in the top 8, my friend.
It's looking like it.
And he's played very well to get here.
And one thing, if you want a theme about the cards that are the decks that are making the top 8, whether it's a deck with 4 Atarka, whether it's Green-White Company, or whether it's Abzan Control, what these decks have in common is they have a lot of game against Abzan aggro.
Yeah, they do. Mize is going to draw his last card of the tournament. That's going to do it. John Lim's going to win this match here over Logan Mize, 2-0. Abzan Control going to take care of Bant Heroic. For Mize, no top 8 for him. For Lim, he can pump the fist. He is into our elimination rounds this evening.
Yeah, congratulations to John Lim. We will see him later today, maybe, in the top 8. But he has a spot there for Logan. It looks like it's going to be a top 16 finish for him, which is still a good amount of points, but I'm sure not what he was hoping 2 rounds ago.
Yeah, not a bad finish for Logan, obviously, but given that he had 2 win-ins and lost them both, it's kind of a tough pill to swallow, but these things do happen in competitive Magic, as we know.
Yeah, so, and in a matchup, which said this wasn't terrible for Logan. He had his bread and butter on the tournament, had